This is Confessions of a Black Sheep, where we embrace being unapologetically different, uncover the power that comes with it, and share our personal wisdom through experience, vulnerability, and honesty.
I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Preetam, who is a life architect with a knack for turning chaos into clarity, your vision into your reality.
And of course, this is Simran, a Reiki master, yoga teacher, and an all-around guide for women stepping into their power.
In this episode, we're getting into what it looks like when you stop playing small in your own life, when you let yourself dream big, and also we'll be giving you actionable steps of how do you actually break free of your own fears, your own limitations, the shackles that are holding you back from achieving your maximum human potential in this lifetime. First, I would actually love to know, how do you define what it means to play small in your life?
Yeah, massive. I think playing small is going against your own intuition. Is not listening to yourself, is not listening to the stories inside of your mind. And that can come about later in your life, later in your future, when things don't feel aligned and things feel out of place and you want to change direction in life. Or you might be feeling that things aren't enough. And there was a time in your life where you didn't listen to yourself and you went against the thoughts and the processes. You didn't trust yourself. You didn't spend time with yourself. And I think playing small is going against what's going on inside of you. How would you define it?
Pretty similar, actually. Like, I would say definitely not listening to your intuition. I would say a big thing that I see is when someone doesn't believe they deserve something, when they don't believe something is possible, and they're kind of like, I'll settle for less, or this is the best I'll get. It's a combination of how much are you loving yourself? How big do you actually let the world hug you back? And definitely the intuition thing, I agree with you. Like, when you're suppressed internally with your own spirit, when you've shut down that inner voice, of course you're going to play small. When you don't actually embrace your full power, when throughout your childhood you were told you couldn't do something, or you shouldn't do something, or you couldn't express yourself, your creative energy, your sexual energy, the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you talk, whatever it might be. Anything lesser than your fullest expression is playing small. And I think that 99% of people are actually playing super small in their lives. Like, I would love to see what a world looks like where the majority of the population is just free to be who they want to be, to think how they want to think, to express themselves, to dress how they want, to speak whatever they want to say. I mean, that could get kind of dangerous now that I'm thinking about it. Some people are really...
It wouldn't just be a little bit dangerous. I think the whole world would change. Like, imagine people, the idea of like deep self-love and like deep self-trust and listening to yourself rather than the stories that you've been given growing up. You'd be a completely different human being. You'd be so free. Think about the way that like animals move around the world, the way that they migrate from one part to another part, the way that they just explore wherever they want to go, and the freedom that they have. And very similar to the way that I live, just exploring and going where I want to go and choosing this is the place that I need to be and this is where I need to ground. And it would change everything. Borders would have to change around the world. The way that the education system would have to change. We'd have to have global passports, which I hope get made one day. It would be an absolutely incredible thing. But yeah, I think it's massive to see that freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of self-love. People think self-love is weird. Like, it actually, when you give yourself so much self-love and you believe in yourself deeply with self-confidence and you have it, it can so quickly move over to arrogance. It can so quickly move over to that person's really weird. They believe in themselves.
It's interesting though, because self-love, the way someone perceives self-love is the way that they perceive love. So if someone's never received like a healthy, unconditional love, they don't know how to give that to themselves. If they've received a very transactional love their entire life, then a lot of self-love looks like, I'm giving myself these items, I'm I'm pampering myself. I have to buy these skincare products. I have to feed myself this thing rather than the way that I treat my body, the way that I speak to myself, the things that require no purchases, that require you to go nowhere and do nothing except just exist in yourself in such a way that allows the love to exude within you and outside of you.
I think that's huge. I think that's really massive. And I know we're going to get onto maximum human potential in a little bit. But one thing I wanted to ask before we move on is, has your definition of love changed like over the last, let's say, year?
Absolutely. Oh my God. It changed like last week, 2 weeks ago. I actually shared a lot of this in a YouTube vlog that one is up now. Another one will probably be up by the time this episode is out. But my trip to Costa Rica was a very intentional process of me opening up to loving myself in a way that I had never loved myself before. Because I went through a process of relearning love a lot these past few months, and opening up to unconditional love for myself, allowing myself to be loved. And then once I got to a certain level of unconditional love, I was like, there's a lot that I'm missing here. There's a lot that I'm still shaming myself for. There's a lot that I'm still suppressing. And when I started to dig into that, and I was like, what is sitting here that is not being allowed out right now? And I found it was a lot of expressions of my own femininity, which I had judged and suppressed my entire life. Because actually, this is a fun fact, from like the age of, I would say like maybe 8 to 14, I only shopped in the boys section. I would wear the baggiest clothes. I had my hair in a ponytail every day. I would wear sweatpants and big t-shirts and sweatshirts to school. And it was only black and blue and maybe some gray. And I wanted to be a boy so badly. Like, I remember telling my parents and my sister, I was like, I wish I was a boy. Like, I wish I didn't have to be a girl. Later, when I got older, and I thought back and I was like, what was going on that made me not even want to be a girl at that age? And I realized it was because I couldn't just like run outside and play like the boys were. Like, I had to sit a certain way. I had to talk a certain way. I was expected to be girly. I was expected to be ladylike. It felt like this is not freedom. And that seemed like freedom. It felt like boys could be free. They could be themselves. They could yell. They could get dirty. They could make a mess. And it would be like, oh, they're just cute. They're being boys. But if a girl did it, it was very different. And so for a long time, I was suppressing my own femininity because I thought that it was mediocre. I thought it was bad. I thought it was something that had to be very prim and proper and polished. And so to answer your question now, I am opening up to, at this point in my life, self-love in a way that feels very different than any love I've been open to before, any love I've ever received before. I don't think I've ever received the type of love from any other human being that I'm now offering to myself, which is beautiful because if I'm going to find it anywhere, it's already inside of me. And it feels amazing. And I think I don't understand it enough to even explain it well, but that's what I've got.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think it's huge. I've completely changed the way that I view love, the way that I explore love, based on the layers of healing I did through my sisters, through the main women in my life, through the connection with my mother, through the connection with my father, being able to explore that, both the deep, heavy masculine and the really, really soft and powerful feminine as well. Really being able to do both of those has helped so much. But now, because I've really explored that deep level and high level of self-love, my standards are so high that, yeah, like I wish good luck to anyone that comes in to in the future to try and level that out or balance that out, because I keep such a high level. Now, most people even question and say, Preet, how do you do all of those things? Like, how do you spend so much time with your mind and your body and the nutrition, the rest? And the way I treat myself is the same way that we were treating professional athletes when I was coaching them. And sometimes even higher, because they didn't really spend too much time with their spiritual body, their emotional bodies. They did from a sports success perspective, but not in a general lifestyle and balance perspective. So actually they still needed that support outside as well. So I would say that, yeah, like from a love perspective, it's been a huge exploration. And actually I think one of the main points when anyone is going through the journey of working on themselves or loving themselves, it can get very, very difficult as well, because you have to redefine what love is. So to redefine what love is, it's not just changing how you define it. You actually need to let go of what you were taught love was. And that's a death. That's genuinely part of you that's going to die. And when that happens, you have to let it die for you to then redefine and create a new version of you moving forwards, because that new version of you is going to have new standards. That new version of you is going to have new boundaries. That new version of you is going to let in love into your life in a very different way to the way the old version of you did. So allowing that death to happen, to allow the redefining to happen, is huge.
I love that you said that one of the first steps is redefining what love is. And I want to add that in order to actually redefine what love is, it takes forgiveness first of all of the people who didn't or probably couldn't love you properly because they don't know how to. So forgiveness of all of those people and yourself, and then acceptance that no one will probably love you the way you need to be loved unless you can first do that for yourself. And something I have found is what will keep people from actually truly loving themselves deeply is this victim mindset of, why doesn't someone else love me? Now, if either of us had any point along the way turned sour because we weren't loved properly or because of all the shitty things that happened, we would be talking about love very differently. Like, we would probably have a very hard discussion about all of the awful things that happened rather than, it feels so good to love myself this way. And no one else has loved me as deeply as I love myself, and I'm by myself until someone does, and that's perfectly fine. And I think that's incredible and so beautiful, and something that people should definitely recognize from this is that you're not a victim of a lack of love. Like, everyone's still learning how to love. So I love that that's the first step, redefining what love is by first forgiving and accepting and recognizing you're not a victim. Beautiful.
Yeah. And actually, I think my own story, I lived in shame and guilt and self-hate for so many years, where I was like, why is the world treating me like this? And mine was, it came from a deeper layer of trauma. This came from the bereavement of my mother to the second woman that came in. This came from this constant stories I was telling myself that life was happening to me rather than me creating life. And that's exactly what we're coming back to here about dreaming big and stop playing small. You can choose that life is happening to you, which is what most people will say. Well, this is my job. This is the journey that I'm going on. This is my career path. This is all I can do. Or you can change that and say, actually, well, I can choose what life happens to me or how it happens to me. And that's one of the big things about dreaming small and not having that ceiling over you. And I did it for years. I just want to take a moment for the people that feel that way, that feel stuck, because it's really hard. It got to a stage for me where it was so dark that I couldn't see color in my days. I felt so numb that all I wanted to do was create pain in my life or create chaos in my life or to hide away from the world, because I felt like life was happening to me. The first thing was that I needed to gain a deep self-awareness of, yes, all the things that had happened to me up until then, I had no control over, and they did happen to me, and accepting that they did happen to me. However, how I choose to react moving forwards needs to come from me rather than letting the world do it to me. I'm not a victim to this world. And up until that moment, I was living as a victim to this world. And then to be able to create such a huge shift from literally being borderline suicidal, like wanting to leave this world, to being able to take control and understand myself and listen to myself and then move through self-love was a huge shift and change.
Yeah, I love it. And the shift that helped me see the world differently was actually to see everything as a lesson. That's when I stopped viewing myself as a victim of anything, because I was like, nothing can be a failure if I keep getting back up. Nothing is a mistake if I'm learning my lesson from it. There's always something to learn. So literally in any situation still in my life, every single day, anytime something happens, I'm like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What do I need to see? Where is, I call it the light path actually. The kind of, sometimes even it's like so dark, I'm like, where are the cracks of light in this situation? And I will go through those cracks of light, and that's the pathway. And those are the lessons, those are the things that lead to the best transformations. So
Yeah, I love
beautiful.
that. I love the light path. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And it's interesting because one of the big things that completely shifted for me was um, whenever I'm feeling that pain, instead of numbing and finding something else, it would be to lean into that pain. And what I found was very, very quickly, as soon as I was able to lean into the pain, it would dissipate almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
Pain, if I can lean into pain, pain will disappear almost instantaneously because I'll be able to understand where it's coming from. I can lean into it. I can be like, okay, cool. Well, maybe this area just requires this amount of love. And then as that area is getting the love, slowly those cracks of lights come through and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's go towards that place.
Yeah. I was actually just having this conversation an hour ago with a client because I was describing this to her because we were working on her tuning into her body and like listening to the body's communication, right? So I was describing how one of the first, not one of the first times, but one of the most profound times when I had my body communicate something and I was able to dissipate it, I was actually running. This was the first time that I did a more than a mile long run, this was a few months ago. And I felt pain in my shoulder, my right shoulder. And I was just pushing through. I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe I just have tight shoulders. And I was actually flailing my arms a little bit while I was running because I was like, I just need to release this thing. I thought it was just tension. Pain wasn't going away. So what I did, I brought my full awareness while I was still running to my right shoulder. And I asked my shoulder, I was like, what are you communicating to me right now? And I realized there was fear sitting in that area of my body. So then I started speaking to the fear. And this is actually the moment that I learned how to alchemize fear, which I've taught to people on different parts of the internet. But I learned it in that moment that fear is kind of like Dobby, like from Harry Potter. Like fear is our friend and it wants to care for us, but it's doing it in a way that's harming us. And this was all through me just feeling the pain in my right shoulder. And the pain went away within like 15 seconds of me having this conversation with the pain. So, and it's amazing because we can transform it within, like, it doesn't take years to heal. It
Yeah.
doesn't take weeks, months, whatever, like days. You can do it within seconds.
Yeah. It's super. I think this is going to come straight onto like maximizing human potential. So one of the big things for me is that I had the pleasure of working with professional athletes, so the best athletes in the world, and the reason I actually fell into that is because I was told by doctors that I would never be able to run again without a brace, and that there were certain injuries that had happened to me that will limit the way that I move through this world forever. Now, when that actually happened to me, I got severely depressed, and that story stuck with me. So the story of playing small was given to me by medical people. And if anyone doesn't know, right now I'm training for an ultra marathon. I'm training for a 250-kilometer run through the Namibian desert in November this year. And one of the big things that I do every single year is I train for something that I deem as impossible at the beginning of the year, because when I was in that room with that doctor, he put his own limitations on me. Now, he put his limitations on how I wouldn't be able to make progress in this world, or I wouldn't be able to do certain things. Now, every single limitation that was put on me, I've been able to overcome. When the doctors told me I wouldn't ever be able to move pain-free, or I wouldn't be able to run without a brace, I've gone on to be able to do multiple things. So this year, we're doing a 250-kilometer ultra marathon through the Namibian desert, which should be super exciting, which I am very excited about. But what I'm most excited about is the person that I'm going to become along the way, because the way that I can apply being able to move through all of these things that I do to the rest of my life allows multiple impossible things to happen across every aspect of my life. So that's the reason that we do these. Now, how would you define to yourself what maximum human potential is?
I would define maximum human potential as every single human being has this one particular pathway that's set out for them that is the most best, beautiful, brightest possible pathway. And the first time I visualized maximum human potential was actually, I think it was in David Goggins' book. I don't know if he was doing like a podcast or what, but David Goggins basically was like, he imagined himself going up to heaven at one point, and he imagined himself coming face to face with God, and God had this billboard that had all of his potential achievements of Navy SEAL, marathon runner, motivational speaker, and he would have shown up as, I don't remember what job he was doing, but whatever he was doing in his life at that time, the smallest version of himself. What was it?
He was doing pest control.
Okay, so he would have shown up as like that pest control employee, and he would have been like, that's not me. And then God would have been like, that was your potential. That's kind of what I see for this, of what maximum human potential is like, what is the thing you came to this earth for? Why is your soul here? What was your mission? And what was the most beautiful, best way for you to do this and live? And yeah, that's maximum human potential to me. How would you define it?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I love a bit of Goggins as well. He's helped me through many a run. Some of the ones that I'm doing at the moment, they require some deep power that I need to find. And interestingly, I'm actually doing a masterclass in a few weeks' time called Finding Your Purpose, and it's exactly about three tools that help you find your purpose, the reason that you are here on this world, to then explore your own potential across every aspect of your life. I believe that maximum human potential is limitless. Now, what do I mean by that? I believe that if you are following your purpose, or you know the thing that you are here to do, just as you said, the capacity that you can reach across every single aspect of your life is limitless. There are things that you can do that you cannot even imagine. Now, one of the things that I say, and what research supports, is that from a physical perspective, the body works at around 40%, even when you feel like you're pushing it to its absolute limit. Now, there are stories of like pregnant women when they're saving their children and they can like lift a car. There's been people that have been able to do things that are completely extraordinary when they're put in the right situations to do so. Now, there's also research that supports that we use the maximum around 10% of our brain capacity. Apart from when we put a monk in a situation and he's in a deep meditative state, he's able to use more of his own brain capacity. So the potential of a human being is completely limitless.
Okay, I love that. And something that I've realized that both of us do that is key to actually achieving our maximum human potential is we don't accept mediocrity in the areas that we want to be the best at something. So, for example, with your training, with your health, with your goals that you have, even for this year with this run, is there any area of that where you're accepting mediocrity?
No.
So it's guaranteed that you're going to achieve your maximum human potential with this particular goal.
Yeah, it's completely not an option. Already where I am right now is exploring a new part of my own human potential. That's why I pick something at the start of every single year that I deem as impossible, because on day one, the new realm that I've entered is a completely different realm. Now, I might be completely capable of doing the first month or two. However, where we're going to enter, the things that we're going to do, the equipment that I'm going to need, the direction that I'm going to have to go in, the mindset I'm going to have to explore, the nutrition I'm going to have to explore, the way I'm going to have to rest, the way I'm still going to be able to run my business, bring in new clients, help new people, support more people, continue with the charity work, but still be able to explore my own human potential, to be able to do something that I never thought was impossible, allows me to continuously move forwards. Now, what about you? How do you feel about exploring your maximum human potential? You talk about the importance of knowing your purpose, knowing the thing that you're here to do. And now I know how much of a guiding North Star that is for you and how important it is for you. So tell me about, we don't accept mediocrity. Now, one of the most important things is that maximum human potential is limitless. So do you feel like you're bringing limitless energy towards your purpose?
Absolutely. The one word that I keep almost like a mantra to myself is expansion and amplification, because I know one of the things that is key in me actually achieving my potential and fulfilling my mission is me trusting my wisdom and trusting my voice and being okay and comfortable with being seen and heard. And a lot of the fears that I've been moving past, even honestly for years, is the fear of being seen and heard. And there were so many pathways where I could have let that fear keep me suppressed, keep me down, keep me small. But I knew what you described as this North Star. When I saw this North Star, there was this definitely there's this fire in me that's like, we're not going to miss this star. Like, I'm making it here. This is my destination. I see it clear, it's bright, it's full of light, and I will eliminate anything along the way that doesn't need to be there. Anything that's stopping me from it is out of my way. And it's so intense to the point where I realize that I don't have anyone in my life anymore that either one did not push me closer to my North Star, push me closer to on my mission or my direction, or that even one time planted a seed of doubt in me. If someone plants a seed of doubt in me, honestly, other than my parents, because sometimes they do that and I let it happen, it's like, okay, fine, you are the exception in this lifetime, that's fine. But any other human being who plants a seed of doubt is immediately eliminated. Why? Because they become dead weight to me. They become something there's an energy in them that's pulling me further back, pulling me off of that track, pulling me away from my North Star. So that's how I know, like, the intensity is so strong, the passion is really strong, the standard for what I allow in my life is through the roof. It's just as strong as my determination to actually get there.
Yeah.
I love that question because I can actually feel the fire in my body right now while I'm talking about it.
Yeah. I love that. There were moments in our life where we were playing small, and often from the outside, it can look like I've always lived life like this, and I haven't. There were moments where I was playing so small that I was doing things that I couldn't even look back on now and even imagine doing. But I know how important those moments were to bring me to where I am right now. Now, there would have been a time in your life where you were playing small and you were living completely differently, and then you chose to make that switch. What did life look like when you were playing small? And like, what was the switch? How did it just happen?
So, what life looked like when I was playing small was I was suppressing my emotions with drugs and alcohol, like the typical story. I was allowing myself to be in a relationship with a person who made me feel like I had to be smaller. I had friendships that made me feel like I had to be smaller. Pretty much every aspect of my life just made me feel like I needed to be less of who I am. It heightened this fear of, I am too much, I am too intense, I feel too deeply, I speak too loudly, I'm too passionate, I care too much. It was always that I am too much. So I tried to be less. And then the moment when it shifted is actually when there's so many moments when it was like shifting out of the I'm playing small. Honestly, I feel like that's still happening daily. I'm still learning how to get bigger and open up more. But the major moment when I felt my power and I was like, I am not stopping, is when I moved back to the US from Thailand when I was 23 years old. I was so determined because I was like, if I'm coming back to a place that I left, I'm going to use this time and use all of my resources here to build something so beautiful and so impactful. And then I'm going to leave again. And then I'm never going to come back. And so this was my plan where I was like, I'm here. I have no plan B, and I'm going to make this happen. And the desire I had was I want to start my own soul led business. I just want to feel free and I want to fulfill my purpose. And I want that to also be what I do with my time, how I make my money. I want that to be my career. I want that to be what I'm known for in this world. Is the mission I came here to fulfill. And the issue is that I had no money. I had spent all of my savings traveling. The only reason I was coming back is because I was out of my money. Like I was completely broke. I was surrounded by people who didn't see the vision that I had. They didn't really believe it. They were kind of like, okay, you quit your job to travel the world and now you want to start this business. You don't want to go work for anyone else and you have no money. You don't want to get a job. They were telling me it's going to take years, that I'm going to need people to invest in something. They were telling me all of these things that needed to happen, all of these conditions for me to live the life I was envisioning. So then I was just, this is where the strength and determination came in, and the stubbornness that they tried to condition out of me as a child. That was so strong. It was like, I don't care what you say, I'm going to do this. And there was a little bit of, I'm going to prove you wrong. And there was a little bit of, I have no other plans and I don't want to do anything else. So around this time, I was living with my ex-partner in a home that did not feel safe. I actually looked through a journal entry month 1, month 2 of living in that space. And the first entry is, I don't feel safe here. And if I had money, I would leave. That was so sad for me to look back on, but also so beautiful because I made it happen 2 months later. Like I did not stay there very long. And there was also something in me that I felt there, I was like, there's this window of opportunity. And if I don't take this now, I don't know when it'll come back. And something that really pushed me along this path was my Reiki master in Thailand. The last day of my Reiki training, I was the last one in the room for several reasons. Like I take a long time to put my things away and also like put my things together. So I was the last one in the room. And throughout my training with her, she kept telling me to just open up to my abilities, because I was always taught to suppress my psychic abilities because it's something that was weird, like crazy, scary. If you open up these doors, you won't be able to close them. So I had a lot that I was closed off to and really scared of within my own body. And she was the first woman in my life, actually the second woman in my life, to be like, no, this is a gift. Please open up to it and please use it and actually try to merge it with all of the other things you're learning. So instead of just teaching me Reiki, she was teaching me so many things along with it. And on the last day of my training, she stopped me as I was on the way out to the door, and she looked me in my eyes. I'm never going to forget this moment. She said, please stop thinking you need more education and certifications. Please trust the wisdom you have in your body. Trust that it's enough and go build something with it. And for the first time, I was like, someone sees me for who I am. They see all of the potential in me, and she's just now given me permission. I needed her to say that to me. I needed someone outside of myself to say it to me. And 2 months after that is when I moved back to the US and I started my business. And I kept her words in my mind. She said, I can do this. I believe her. I can do this. And this is before I could even believe in myself enough. So I began showing up for myself every single day. I gave quite literally everything to my plan. Plan A, my only plan. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I stopped smoking. Well, I did my best to stop smoking weed. I also did my best to stop drinking alcohol. I still was like cycling through a lot. But I gave quite literally as much as I could, which was everything I had in that moment. I gave it to my plan, my mission. And through that, I built so much confidence in myself. I learned to actually love myself deeply. I learned what fulfillment feels like. I learned that I will never listen to anyone else's advice ever again because nobody knows better than my own spirit. I learned that I love that I'm stubborn. I love that I'm determined. I love that I'm intense. I love all the things about myself that I was trying so hard to suppress to be less, to take up less space. I learned what freedom feels like, and now I'm addicted. And I'm like, give me more and more and more freedom. Like, I want to be more and more free, as however free I can be. I want that. That's now my baseline. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's huge. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
proud
I'm
of
really proud of
you.
you.
I would love to
Sorry.
hear I would love to hear your story. Like, I would love to hear the moment that you were playing small, that you knew you were not fulfilling your potential, and then like kind of that character arc of just doing the thing finally.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. I love that question. And there's so many, for me, there's been like shifts and moments, very different to yours. But there's one particular moment where it all came to an end. I was like, from this day forwards, there is no way that I'm going to continue living this way. Neuroscience says that we create change from one of two places. We either create change from a place of pain, where the pain is too much that we decide to shift, or we create place from a place of vision. So our vision is so big that we have to start moving immediately. Now, if we can harness both, that's one thing that I do with all of my clients is we can harness both. So the pain of either where you are or wanting to redirect, plus the vision, the North Star, the purpose, and moving forward. If you can harness both, the speed that you move at is absolutely incredible. And I think that's testament to the way that you move forwards. You went from a place of pain and then gaining that self-trust, that awareness, and then the vision. And then you're just like a rocket that's just like, just flying through the sky.
That's so
And
interesting that you say a rocket because there's one particular vision I kept seeing at that time, and it was of me crawling to a rocket ship. Towards like the final bit, I was started walking to the rocket ship, but I get in and I strap myself in, and then I just have to do nothing, and I just let go, and I'm just like plummeting to the moon, or not plummeting, but rocketing up to the moon. Yeah, propelling to the moon.
no, I like that. I like that. So for me, there was a very particular moment where all of the playing small ended, and it was when I was 26 years old. I was coming to the end of like a 4 year stint where, again, I was drinking loads, I was doing loads of drugs, I was moving through depression in various different ways, from light to very, very severe. I was harming myself, harming my body, whether it was emotionally, whether it was physically. I felt numb, I felt empty. And if I'm really, really honest, I genuinely felt like I was going to die by the age of 30. And that came from multiple different things. My mum died when she was 33, so she didn't even have the opportunity to get to there. She was paralyzed from the age of 28. And one of the stories of my mum was that the car accident could have been my fault. And now at this time, at 26, that was still a story that was in my mind. Even though I later found out that that wasn't true, I was living life like it. And in that moment, I always knew I was capable of more. Whether it was my teachers, whether it was my coaches, the sports that I played, whether it was becoming head boy when I was 18 years old at school in a completely new school that I had to move to the north when I moved from the south of England to the north, whether it was being chosen to go on a course called Natural Born Leaders, where I was chosen from all of the youths across the whole of the UK. And then when I went on this course, There were only 14 students that were chosen, and then I was given the special recognition award. And even though I had these little snippets of, oh my God, you've got so much potential, I was still stuck in this pain, in these cycles of everything I was going through, whether that was the people around me, the stories that I was being told from around me, but I was really struggling. And even though at that time I was working with professional athletes, my own integrity was really low. So I was able to coach a professional athlete to improve in their chosen sport. However, I wasn't following these things for myself. So actually my limits, I had massive limits as a performance coach at the time anyway, because I wasn't living the life that I was asking these other people to live as well. I always knew that I wanted to leave the world in a better way than I found it. However, I was stuck. So at the time, I was really struggling, and I was working a job in London as a sales job. I was coasting. I was playing really, really safe. So even though on the side, I was a coach for professional athletes and I'd done that since I passed my degree, I would never go all into it because I didn't believe in myself. And everyone around me was telling me that I needed to follow this career path in London as this particular type of salesperson and have the safety, and I didn't have the self-belief in myself. And I was going through this constant cycle of alcohol, drugs, and constantly numbing myself. And eventually it got to a stage where for every high, there is a deeper low. And I continued to have more and more distractions, more and more highs, because I was trying to numb myself from not following my potential, for not following my purpose, even though I knew I was capable of more. And eventually, as those highs went up, eventually they came crashing down. And there was a moment when I was 26 where things got really, really dark and I didn't know which way to turn. And it was in that moment that I had a choice. And I could either have continued down the same path of the constant pain, the constant numbing, and feeling like everything I was doing wasn't enough. And I was constantly chasing short-term happiness or short-term dopamine releases, which would then lead to me feeling even worse, even low. And to the outside world, I looked happy. But on the inside, I was absolutely dying. I was struggling with addiction, depression, self-sabotage, self-harm, constantly letting down the people around me, constantly letting down the family, constantly letting down like friends. And it got to a stage where things got so dark that I knew that in that moment I had to change. And it wasn't just a switch and everything happened. The first thing that I had to do was gain that self-awareness of recognizing where I was. And then the next thing that I had to do was remove everything from my life that was not serving me, not serving my highest good. That was alcohol when, drugs when, masturbation when, dating when, sex when, because I was using all of those things as cruxes to numb who I was and to give me short-term pleasure. So I had to remove all of those things out of my life to then allow myself to completely feel exactly how much pain I was in and how much I was running away from myself. And it was in that moment, I remember, where I chose to remove all of those things. And then the next 6 months was complete agony. I was in so much pain. My inner child from the age of 5 all the way up till 25 was just crying. And I had to sit with myself, cutting all of those things out, made me have to face every aspect of my life. And as I was doing that, I was moving through a more spiritual space. So even though I was very knowledgeable in the high performance space with professional athletes and the body, I went away and began my travel journey, and I became a meditation teacher. I became a mindfulness practitioner, a breathwork facilitator. I became qualified and learned how to facilitate Tantra. What it allowed me to do is take all of these pieces of spirituality, of emotional health and physical health, and actually start applying it to myself. So this is when I started to peel back my own layers rather than constantly helping other people. At that time, it was peeling back my own layers. And what I realized in that moment was I didn't even know who I was. And by not knowing who I was, what I realized was I didn't know who I was from the age of 5. And I actually had to create an identity of this person and the potential and the legacy that I wanted to leave in this world. Now, I knew very, very quickly once I peeled back all of the layers that I wanted to leave this world in a better way than I found it. And I wanted to give an opportunity to all of the people that felt the way that I do and people that feel even worse to live their best life, to be able to change the way that their mind works and the way that their bodies work, to be able to go and find their own maximal potential and live out their purpose. And as I was feeling all of my pain, it was in that moment that I was able to redefine who I wanted to be and become the person that I am right now and continuing to develop to be, which again, the theme comes back to freedom, peace, calmness, ease, and clarity, but living life in a way where it flowed rather than me constantly battling with life. The most important thing, like energy is everything to me, because whether it's with another human being, whether it's with the things that I'm doing, every step that I take feels completely guided, that I know that I'm going in the perfect direction. Now, if it doesn't, I just don't go that way. The most important thing for me was feeling my pain. And that allowed me to completely shift everything and allowed me to live by the values that I needed for my future self at that time. And now I continue to do that for the next version of my future self.
Beautiful. I love it. That's a beautiful story. And honestly, incredible that you, like, the most incredible part of that is you cutting out all of those vices all at once and then just sitting in your pain for 6 months and just processing it. Like, I can't imagine how hard that was to process, like 20 years of pain in 6 months.
It was I actually ended up doing 2.5 years of like masturbation and sex and alcohol and drug free. And the alcohol and drug free has continued. There's been one or two little moments in between where you feel like you can dip your toes back in. And for me personally, it's just not something that brings anything for my life. And those moments where I dipped back in, it didn't bring anything either. So they are not a part of my life. However, having to face all of the pain was very, very difficult. And that was the first moment that I did my first ever Vipassana. And that completely changed everything. It was during the first 6 months of my healing process, I ended up doing a 10-day, 120 hours of meditation, where it's 12 hours of silence a day, where you sit and meditate. And there's a very particular technique which took the Buddha to enlightenment. And it was that particular technique that helps comb out all of the pain that you trap in your body. I'm so excited for you to do a Vipassana. Actually, I'm excited for everyone in the world to do a Vipassana. However, I'm so excited to do one.
Yeah, we got to plan one for sometime in the next few months because I'm ready.
Yeah. There's hundreds in India. Maybe you should come to India and then we can find one here.
I might just come next week.
You should. I think you should. So I think one of the things that, and it's really important for me that, like, one, understanding that there were moments where you were playing small, and I think for people listening as well, that's huge, and me as well. Like, for me, knowing that I played small as well, but there were very particular moments for me that made a huge difference to how I stepped out of that.
So when we analyzed our two stories, and we also analyzed the people we've been working with, the clients all around the world that we've heard their stories, we worked with them, there's 7 main key shifts that happen that help someone get from a point of playing small, feeling small and suppressed, to feeling like they're fulfilling their maximum human potential and expanding. So are you ready to list out these key shifts?
Yes, I am. So the 7 key shifts are: number 1, self-awareness; number 2, self-belief; number 3, faith in higher power; number 4, choosing to show up for yourself; number 5, facing your pain and not suppressing it; number 6, reparenting or reconditioning the mind; number 7, focus on how you are feeling rather than the things that you want. Oh, I love it.
When we made this list, we had analyzed our individual life paths and how we got to the point where we're at right now. And we also analyzed all of the people we've worked with up until this point and found the common shifts and themes that take someone from living a small, suppressed life to living their maximum human potential and really expanding as much as they can. So if you want us to expand on any of these, please DM us at confessions of a black sheep _ on Instagram. Please don't forget the underscore because somebody has the other page with just Confessions of a Black Sheep. And we need to message them because we need that ASAP. But
Yeah.
if you want expansion on any of these 7, please DM us. And these key shifts are in a chronological order for most people. Some might go maybe 1 or 2 above or below the other, but pretty much chronological order.
And I think that's such an important point. Having 7 key shifts can feel very overwhelming and feeling like, where do I start or where can I start? So what we've done for you is we've created you a 3-step process to give you a starting point to actually apply this into your life. Because if I just throw those 7 things at you and you're going to be like, oh my God, where am I in this? Or I feel like I know all of these. And that's what it feels like often when you change your life. You actually resonate with every single one of those areas, but you still don't feel like that change is happening. So we're going to give you 3 very, very, very easy to follow steps so you know exactly where to do that. So we're going to give you a starting point. Step 1. Stop taking advice from people who are not living the way that you want to live. This is super important because constantly we surround ourselves with people that are not even living the way that we would want to live, yet we will take advice from them. So the first thing is that I want you to trust yourself. Focus on listening to the voice that is inside of you and trusting your own intuition.
Beautiful. Step 2 is to hold your vision and take victory steps. I call any single step, even if it's the babiest, most minuscule step, a victory step, because you are still moving forwards. Every step closer to your vision is a victory step. So how do you actually know what your vision is? For a lot of people, they're like, I don't have a North Star. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime. Okay, let's first connect you with your body. I'm going to guide everyone listening through a practice to actually feel what a yes and a no feels like from the body. This is about a 2-minute practice. If you are in a space where you can do this right now, do it. If you are not, maybe just come back to this. Okay, like if you're driving, let's not do this right now. Okay, so wherever you are in a comfortable, safe space to close your eyes, go ahead and close the eyes down. This will take about 90 seconds to a minute. Let's go ahead and close the eyes down. Take a deep inhale, filling the lungs, the chest, and the belly. And a deep exhale, letting it all out. Another deep inhale, gathering all of yourself here in the present moment. Pressing the hands into the knees or the thighs. And exhale, release, sighing it out. You're relaxing here, fully immersed in your body. We'll continue deeper into ourselves, coming deep into the physical body. Let yourself fully exist here for the next minute. And we'll be asking the body 2 questions. Going inwards. Question 1. Body, show me what yes feels like. And allow yourself to open up to this feeling. Expand within the body. Let yourself fully feel it and let this become a memory imprinted in your body. This is what yes feels like. Now, thank you, body, for showing me what yes feels like. We're coming back to neutral. Let's take a deep inhale and a deep exhale, letting it all out. Turning inwards once again, asking our body question number 2. Body, show me what no feels like. Let yourself fully feel the sensations, the feelings, and let this become a memory imprinted in your body. This is what no feels like. Taking a deep inhale, we're settling back into a neutral space. Thank you, body, for showing me what no feels like. Another deep breath here, settling into yourself and releasing. And gently flutter your eyes open. Now, if you didn't feel sensations here, you didn't hear a yes or no, that's okay. Try it again. You're simply asking your body to show you something. And when you feel your yeses, follow this with every single choice you make. I will tell you, at this point in my life, if something doesn't feel like a full body yes, I don't do it. Even if there's 0.05% of my body saying no, I will not do the thing. So follow the yeses, continue practicing this with your body, and it will take you on the path that's meant for you. You don't need to know your full mission. You just need to first begin trusting the body.
Yeah, it's massive practice, and it's so true that that will come to you as you peel back these layers, as you start to trust yourself. The purpose will come to you. Now, number 3 is define your own truth. And what I mean by that is get really clear. As you're starting to ask those yeses, you'll start to get clearer on what it is that you want. Now, the first thing that you need to do is remove the things that no longer align with your life, and then start to add in the things, or start to add in the small practices that will align with the life that you want to live. Now, this will be a process of slowly removing things and then slowly adding things in. So you're first creating space for this new life, for the life that you want to create. And then as you create that space, you'll create space for the new practices. Now, this will take so much courage, determination, consistency, discipline, strength. So stay focused. It's really, really important. But as you create that space, as you remove things out, as you take things away, you'll create room for the things that need to come into your life for you to start living the life that you want to live.
The 3 things that I found are non-negotiable for step 3 is courage, determination, and strength. Build these 3 within yourself and your success along your path is inevitable. Now, you've got action steps. You've got a list of 7 key shifts, hopefully written down somewhere for yourself. So take these, take the inspiration you've gathered, take the wisdom, the knowledge, the information, and go build something beautiful with it. In the meantime, you can follow Preet and I on Instagram. You can follow Preet at Life with Preetam, and you can follow me at Fly Simran Fly. And you have anything else to say, Preetam?
Yeah, thank you so much for the plug, and thank you so much for sharing this space. One thing that I know is that we are all capable of doing so much more and creating so much more and leaving an impact in this world. And if this is the moment that you stop playing small and you start dreaming big, make that promise to yourself. What are you laughing at?
I'm smiling.
Oh, if this is the moment that you make that promise to yourself and you stop playing small and you start dreaming big, then take a moment to do that practice that Simran gave us earlier in the session. Sit with yourself, make that promise to yourself, and from this moment forwards, only bring forward your most beautiful and bright and strong energy. And let's rise together.
I love it. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.